we're up there. But, we're here. We're back. Episode, I don't know, 14, 15, 13. Could be 26. I mean, I have no idea, but we're back here. Took a little hiatus. RJ, how are you feeling?
Big birthday weekend for your boy. Getting a little too old to be slamming beers and doing shots, so stop making me do that, friends. Yeah, I'm feeling good, back at it, back to work, back to waking up, back to the schedule, back to Jiu Jitsu. Everything is going to be back. Good to be back.
Everything's coming back. We've been out for a few days, and there's been a lot going on in combat sports, grappling, wrestling, MMA, the whole nine. So we got a lot to cover. A lot of politics outside of the cage and all of that too. So we'll get into that. And we're kind of we're recapping a lot of things today, and we'll see where it takes us. We'll see what happens. But without further ado, let's get into it. First on the list, we mentioned it in the Francis video, but we were going to leave it for a future video. We got the BMF belt is back. Two very formidable guys for the BMF belt. I wouldn't mind either of them having it on their shoulders, but unfortunately, only one of them can take it home. Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier at UFC 291 or 2. I think it's 1. Is happening. It's BMF belt is back.
Yeah, check it out. Both of these guys are bad mothers, so I would not be upset if either one of those guys wore the belt. I did mention in the last video we talked about it. I kind of wish they kept it alive from the first time and just passed it around. It could be like, what was that belt? It's like the Intercontinental Champion. Remember that for WWF?
Yeah. They brought one back.
It's just like
recently. I think it was Ralph would know it. I think it's the 24/7 belt where it was just like you can get it at any time, anywhere.
So I'm saying, like, it's kind of cool. Like, I am not mad having another belt that's not the undisputed belt. I'm okay with it. And at least these two guys live up to the name. Definitely cool with the matchup. The only thing I don't like about the matchup is having to see one of these guys lose, because I'm a huge Justin Gaethje fan. I'm a huge Dustin Poirier fan. Anytime two of your favorite guys go up against each other, it's really hard to pick. It's really hard to watch. One of these guys is more than likely going to go get another run at the title shot. And the other guy, it's going to get dicey. You know what I mean? I don't really see either one of these guys fighting for like another decade. I think they're both looking for that one last push at the title. It could be make or break for whoever wins or loses this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've both been around for quite some time now. I think Justin Gaethje publicly said this was probably going to be his last run for the title, and to go right back in it against Dustin Poirier is maybe not the wisest choice. But Justin Gaethje, man, your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. He's ready for a war. He wants the best guys. I think Dustin Poirier just took to Twitter either yesterday or today saying he's putting on his war cap for this one. So we're in for a war, and the BMF is going to come out on top. And it's going to be very interesting to see what adjustments are made from both of them after going up against each other once. They're running it back again. I'm excited. I think this is more of Justin Gaethje's hometown, Salt Lake City. He's up in Colorado. I don't know if that favors him or benefits him in any way, but I'm excited for the matchup. And speaking of last title runs for these guys, what does this do for the division? We have Charles Oliveira and Benny Dariush going up soon, very soon. I don't know when to pinpoint a date, but very soon here. That's number one contender in my eyes. That guy has to get the next shot, probably against Islam in October, unless Volkanovski does something outrageous and wants another rematch. What is this? What is the landscape of the lightweight division right now? It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's we have always talked about lightweight as being one of the most stacked divisions, an extremely top heavy division. But it's really not. I shouldn't say top heavy. I mean, because the whole entire top 50, every guy with a number next to his name could be champion tomorrow if they had the shot. The problem is a lot of these top 5 guys have had such exciting careers and lay such claim to the next. We all want to see them all be champion, right? But you can only give one guy a shot at a time. So it's like, I think with the Benny and the Charles fight happening, I agree with you. The guy that wins that's got to be the next in line. That fight right there. If it's Charles, that's his second chance at either getting back his belt or starting to move down the line. Benny has been fighting everybody and anybody for the past however many years, and he's been winning all these fights. So it's like, let's get that guy his shot, especially if he wins. For Gaethje and Poirier, who, like we were just talking about, neither one of these guys is going to fight much longer. So I see the winner making a solid, advance towards the top spot. The next guy is probably going to turn into that guy who fights people right outside the top 5, almost acting as the, I hate to use the word gatekeeper, but like they're going to start, okay, you beat this guy, you get into the top 5. You don't beat this guy, you stay put where you're at. So, and I don't know how long either one of those guys really wants to do that. Fighting these dangerous guys, hungry guys. At the end of your career, especially like you said, Gaethje's talking about like, I don't know how much longer I really want to do it. We talk about it all the time. We don't like when these fighters talk like that. However, with Gaethje, look, like this guy's a competitor, man. His entire life, he's been a competitor. And, what has he had? The 2 losses in the UFC? Is that it? 3, 4?
2 or 4? I want to say 2 or 3. I don't think it's been 4. It was Charles. It was
4.
Dustin. It was Eddie.
Yep.
And
And
Khabib. Yep. 4.
4. And
champions.
The first 2, so he all champions. He went on a little bit of a run. Then he lost to Eddie and Poirier. Then he went on a run and lost to Khabib and
Charles.
So after that first little run, he ran into Eddie. They were both hurting each other. Eddie ended up taking it. Justin always said he wanted that fight back. Eddie bounced and went to one championship. Then he did the Poirier fight, and it was like he wanted that one back. And Poirier went and, fought for the belt a couple times, fought Conor. So doing that whole thing. Justin Gaethje has wanted this fight back since he lost. He believes he can beat Dustin and Justin. That's going to mess my brain up this entire time. Justin has wanted that fight back from Dustin since the first time it happened. So I expect to see a very hungry Gaethje, even though he's talking about the end of his career. He wants this one back. And Poirier too, man. He's coming off the 2 Conor fights. He's coming off the Chandler fight. He's on top of the world. He's made some money. He's got his own business. He's his own companies. He's got his charity event. He's got his wife and kids. Like, you could see him riding off to the sunset at any moment as well. So this is really interesting to see, like, the versions of these guys that show up. You can never count either one of them out. Something I did wanted to note too that you brought up, the fact that one, it's a little bit closer to Gaethje's backyard. I do think that's going to play to his hand, because this is the thing. He trains in Denver at elevation,
high altitude.
Yes. Poirier is in Florida, is at sea level. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a big we've never really seen Poirier get tired. So to say that, he's just going to gas out, I don't think that would be fair to say. I don't think it would be fair to say that he's just going to gas out because the guy's a machine. However, if you had to give somebody an advantage for it being in Utah, I definitely would say Gaethje gets that slight edge. And man, and this is the other thing. Gaethje has been looking a lot more
Sharp,
polished. Yeah, he's been looking more what's the word I'm looking for?
tactical.
That's a way to put it, but like just less crazy. Like he's just a little bit more disciplined in his approach these last couple years. So I love it. I mean, again, I hate it because I got to see one of my favorite guys lose, but I love it because both of these guys are towards the end of their career, and only one of them can win. That's why we love MMA so much. It's gonna be a good fight, and one of them is the BMF. Hopefully, it sets up BMF for versus Undisputed.
That would be the goal right there. You brought up a lot of points that I tried to note in my head to bring back up. Speaking on the altitude, if you look at the Salt Lake City arena and events, we saw Usman and Leon fight there the second time, where it was for the belt. And Leon looked visibly like a little more tired than he normally would look in a fight. Now, he ultimately ended up getting the win with the highlight knockout of the year, what have you, but it definitely looked like the altitude was having an effect on Leon Edwards, whether it was the wrestling or not. It definitely looked as if Leon was the most tired and fatigued he's ever been pretty much in a fight up until that point. And then they ran it back for the trilogy, and he looked a lot better when it was not at an altitude. So I think you're right in saying that fighting at an altitude would be beneficial for Gaethje and not so beneficial for Poirier. But we'll see how they manage that and see what happens for both of them. Probably going to be a war either way. We kind of know what we're getting into. And what was the other thing I was going to mention? Oh, riding off into the sunset. You said how Poirier could just do that right now. They both can do that right now. I think you said both of them. But they both could ride off into the sunset with all the money they have, all the success they've had. They have nothing left to prove. And by them taking this fight kind of just tells me that they still want to do this. And it's not like, oh, I have to take this fight. They want to fight these guys. They want to be the best, and they're still gunning for that title. So taking this fight this late in their career, it kind of just tells me they still have that hunger. They still have that warrior mentality of fighting the best guys. Now, I think the loser might lose that a little bit and kind of ride off into the sunset, because I don't think either wants to be a gatekeeper, like you said. So I'm excited to see what happens, and I'm excited to see this fight play out, because we can only expect a war between these two.
Yeah, and just to recap that one last thought that you said again, you're absolutely right. These guys don't want to be the guys that are sticking around, fighting the hungry lions, not gonna get. They're only wanting to fight for belts. They're only wanting to fight guys who are going to get them to fight for belts. Like, if they're not going to fight number 8, if it's not going to get them the championship fight. If they're not fighting for the championship, these guys are good, man. Like, they don't need to stick around and get brain damage. Like, they don't need that. And I don't think they want that. So it's like, they are fighting each other. First of all, it's a fan favorite matchup. I love it. Dana sweetened it a little bit with the belt. More eyeballs, more excitement. The winner's probably going to get the title fight. And that's what these guys want. These guys are absolute warriors, man. Assassins, really. Like, if they're not going out there for the top guys, we're probably not going to see either one of these guys fight for very much longer. So good luck to both, man.
Yeah, as sad as that sounds, I'm glad and happy that they don't have to, put their body at risk anymore. They've done everything they needed
Yeah,
to do. So
they don't
go
need
for
it.
the championship, last run. And if it doesn't work out, then ride off into the sunset with everything else you have going on in life.
Thank you for the memories.
We'll
But
do a
both of these
career recap.
guys, but these guys absolutely want to finish their career as undisputed champion. Like that's something we
Yes.
might not have totally mentioned. It's like both of these guys touched interim belts and they want to seal their career with that 12-pound gold belt. Like believe that.
Yes, absolutely. So BMF belt on the line, UFC 291. I'm pretty confident it's 291, but if it's not, well, then that stinks for me. But moving forward, another stacked to the brim division of bantamweights. The bantamweight top of the division has been going through some beef lately with Dana, Aljamain Sterling, and Sugar Sean O'Malley. That fight has been obviously next based on that Triple C and Aljo fight. We had Sean come into the cage, do a face-off. So that confirmed that was the next fight. It was just a matter of when that fight was going to take place. And recently on Twitter and at the post-fight press conference of this past weekend, the Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill card, there was a lot of questions revolving Aljamain and if he was going to fight, when he's going to fight, to Dana White. And Dana essentially started like kind of going at Aljamain a little bit. He said something along the lines of, I don't know if I quote it, don't quote me correct perfectly, but along the lines of Aljamain is getting himself in his own way or something like that, kind of insinuating that Aljamain's kind of like messing this whole thing up between him and Suga and this whole fight being made. It was supposed to be Boston. I think it's confirmed for Boston. But then Aljamain took to Twitter and said, let's do it July 8th, International Fight Week, to see who's really about that. And Sean O'Malley came back and said, no, I'm not built like that. See you in August for Boston. So I think that's where we're at. I think it's going to wind up being in Boston. But the whole politics revolving this with these three has been kind of weird. And it's just a strange little series of events between these three.
Yeah, all right. It's kind of, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, first of all, Dana White, all right. Dana certainly doesn't need me to tell him how to do his job, right? He's the best promoter maybe on the face of the planet ever. However, that's like your guy. You're supposed to build him up. You're supposed to make him look good. If he sticks his foot in his own mouth, you're supposed to be like, well, he's got the best tasting foot east of the Mississippi. Like, that's your job, is to make him look good and cool and tough and whatever. So, like, right off the bat, anytime Dana starts bad-mouthing one of his own guys, it's a little bit weird because you're like, but he's your guy. You know, it's not like, I don't know. I always get taken aback. And I will say this too, to Dana's defense, there's like a certain characteristic of a guy that Dana will sometimes go after. And Aljamain has it. It's that what about me? Like, and look, I love Aljo and I really do, but it's like, I think he looks at comments too much and he thinks he only looks at like the negative stuff being said about himself. He doesn't shut that stuff out and just like go win fights, which sometimes I think you need to do. If you're constantly harping on like, oh, they're counting me out, they don't believe in me. It's like, who cares, man? The internet is filled with trolls and like there's always going to be haters. So like you have to like not pay attention to that stuff. You know, Tyron Woodley did the same thing. He'd always be like, oh, everybody's trying to hold me down. And Dana would be like, dude, there's no, like, you're the only one. Like, stop it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're sounding stupid and like we're trying to make a big fight and you're complaining. So I see the same type of thing. because Dana used to throw some shots at T Wood as well for like the same type of thing, right? So as far as Aljo goes, it's like, hey man, just do your thing. Like, let's let's be honest, bro. You choked out Sandhagen. You absolutely demolished TJ. You beat Jan pretty convincingly in the second fight. First fight, he needs you in the head. That's illegal. You won. You just beat Henry. Like, you're making one of the greatest runs in the history of the sport. I'm, hey man, you're one of the best. Like, who cares what anybody says? You know what I mean? Uh, Obviously the UFC is gonna back O'Malley a little bit because he's got the younger, maybe more eyeballs. Like he's got that flair, that flash, that whole thing. So I don't know. But this was the other point I wanted to make. Every single time a fight is over, what does Dana say? I don't make fights on the night of the fight. I don't make fights on the night of the fight. The only time he does it is when he has a ace in his back pocket, whether it's Colby Covington or Sean O'Malley, right? I kind of loved the WWE bring Sean O'Malley in the cage, have them face off and do that. I loved it. It's great theater. It's great. It's entertainment for us, the fans. However, Aljo just beat arguably one of the best champions in the division. It's his night, bro. And you're going to bring in this guy and like steal some of his shine. And then you're like, you got to fight. You got to pick a date, right? It's like, bro, how many champions have done that? How many? None of them. Maybe Izzy does that. But like, who else really wins a fight and then sets up the date for their next fight? None of them do that. So to be on Aljo, like, oh, you got to pick a date and you're holding this whole thing up. It's like, no, man, I just fought 2 weeks ago and I don't really feel like cutting 40 pounds right now. Like, give me a few months. We'll get to it and get off my ass. Like, so I could kind of see the frustration from Aljo. I didn't notice. Did you say there was beef between Dana and Sugar?
No, Dana
as well?
and Aljo. That was kind of like that was the beef going on. Now, I mean, I don't want to call it a beef, but just kind of mutual, like, butting heads.
Yeah, I mean, when Dana doesn't get what he wants right off the bat, he'll make you pay with his words, which again is like silly because it's like he's supposed to be promoting you. Whatever. I mean, you could see why he would want Sugar to get a little bit more hype or attention or whatever, because the UFC is more than likely banking on Sugar Sean to win. They are.
I would agree.
Because it does two things. One, it gets their most popular guy into a title. So that's good for pay-per-view. That's good for business. Number two, it moves Aljo more than likely out of the division and makes more room for Merab to come up to the top. So it just, I could see why them getting Aljo out of the picture would be good for business as far as the division goes. But either way, it's like, that's your guy. You got to back him. That's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot to unfold. I had something in my head that I was going to bring up, and I kind of just blanked on it. Oh, I was trying to watch today. Aljamain posted a video on his own YouTube page about this whole situation, like with Dana and Sean and whatnot. And I didn't watch it all, but from what I did watch, he said something along the lines of, if you want me to be the villain, then tell me like behind closed doors that you want me to go out here and be the villain, and I'll be the villain. But it's not like Dana's trying to make him the villain. Well, he is kind of trying to make him the villain and Sean the good guy in this situation, but Dana's more than trying to make him the villain. He's just trying to make him look not great, and I don't think that's a good look for your champion of the most stacked division in the UFC right now.
Yeah.
With that win over Triple C, Aljo just broke so many records for the bantamweight division that it was kind of mind-blowing. Like, this title run he's on right now is becoming one of the greatest in the division, like you said. And I
in
just
the
don't think
sport.
in the sport, much less the division. I just don't think Aljo's getting the respect that he really deserves at this point in time for what he's doing in this division, in the sport. They're really trying to push him out, and I'm trying to think of like who was the last champion that this happened to. Like, who did Dana really not like and was in a way trying to force him out or get someone to beat him, or because it really
Leon.
seemed like Dana Leon, yeah. But it really just seems like Dana does not want Aljamain Sterling to be a champion, and he's really trying to get him out of there. I'm not a fan of it. Aljo's proven that he's the best, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, again, just to wrap this thought up, Aljo is on this incredible run in arguably, it's arguable the hardest division to have this type of success. And I mean, if you were going to rank, do your pound for pound list or whatever, dude, Aljo's top 5, like all day. So like for you to not treat arguably one of the best fighters you have in your entire history of your company, it's like, what's going on, man? You know what I'm saying? And I agree with Aljo. Don't paint him the bad guy. If it's just like, hey man, people love to hate you, maybe you should fucking flip everybody off and just wild out. And we're gonna try to make Sean, good guy versus bad guy, baby face heel thing. It's like, okay, I'm sure Aljo would go with it, and like it doesn't have to be like this salty thing, like because nobody wants to fight for a guy and get him rich when they don't respect it. It's like you gotta, I don't know, man. This is one of those things where it's like treat your employees right,
Yep. I mean,
especially the most valuable ones.
one of the most valuable ones you have
Like,
right now.
he's your guy.
There's only what 10 champions in the UFC, and he's one of them. So, I mean, you want him to do well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
we'll wrap up that thought. I mean, this fight is going to happen. It's not questionable. I mean, the next fight in the bantamweight division is going to be Aljamain Sterling and Sugar Sean O'Malley. We might see Sandhagen and Umar be the number 1 contender fight. Who knows? But that'll be a later date conversation.
Yeah, I don't like that fight.
I mean, props to Sandhagen for taking that. He absolutely did not have to take that fight, but the fact that he did is respect there. But we'll talk about that at a later date.
We'll break that one down. I don't like when they do that to Sandhagen's one of the most deserving guys. So to give him a guy outside the top 10, it's kind of like, I don't know why he took that fight, but respect to both of them. We'll break that down later.
Yep, we'll do that. Speaking of breaking down, let's recap. We'll do a little recap here of UFC Fight Night, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. There are a few standouts that I just wanted to point out, kind of show props to, because I have 4 names on my list of like people I really wanted to talk about and just say how good they were. Chase Hooper, making his lightweight debut, was fighting at featherweight, first time fighting at 155. His striking, I mean, for not being a real, he's not a striker first, I would say, his striking looked phenomenal. He was pushing the pace the whole fight. Striking looked good. Obviously, when it went to the ground, Chase was pretty much at home. Like, he likes being there. No stranger on the ground. And when he got back up, every time, pushing the pace, striking looked really sharp. Probably the best I've ever seen from Chase Hooper. And that's promising for going up a weight class and showing out. Really decisive victory, decision win, but very decisive, not questionable. Good on Chase Hooper.
Yeah, a couple thoughts, right? Like, one, he's a young man who clearly had an advantage in one aspect of mixed martial arts, right? Clearly the gap would have been his striking. He had a couple rough outings at 45. So he did what we want every prospect grappler to do. He said, okay, where am I going to get beat? Let me work on this. Right? You already have the grappling in the bag, so now you got to spend a lot of rounds on your feet, getting your sparring, getting your distances, getting your setups, getting your defenses, and start working that. So now, number one, he's young, right? Number two, not cutting that extra 10 pounds. The dude can probably go for days. He's not going to get tired at 55. So I love that. We talk about it all the time with the like excessive weight cutting these guys do. Bro, you're a young man. You're in good shape. Go up. You're not going to get tired. Just work on the holes and show up at your very best. Sounds like he did that. Seems like he did that. You know, he worked on it. His striking was improved. His grappling is always going to be there. He's in a new weight class. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see. You know, I'm happy for him. He's always been an entertaining guy to watch. And it's smart, you know, he's doing the smart thing, working on the holes. That's just always sharpening the sword. I love that.
Yep. You know, some people will lean into their strength and really double down on their strength, and some people will focus on the holes. He's focusing on his holes, and he's becoming a well-rounded mixed martial artist at an upper weight class. He said in the post-fight interview that best he's ever felt in the cage physically. So
imagine that.
He's in a world of excessive weight cutting, he's proving that theory wrong and being very successful at what works for him. So I'm really happy for him. He's a solid prospect. I mean, if he keeps improving his striking, he's going to be a problem in a very stacked division, but he'll still be a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah. I would like to see how he stacks up size-wise against a guy like Islam or like one of these, or a Poirier. Like some of these guys are pretty big. With that said, though, Chase wasn't like a small 45er. He was like a tall, lanky guy. So this might be the weight class for him, man.
And yeah, I mean, speaking on Poirier was a 45er at one point in his career. So this could be Chase Hooper's.
When he was 20 years old.
Exactly. So Chase Hooper's getting older now. This could be his, switch transition to becoming a big lightweight. We'll see what happens with Chase Hooper. I'm excited for his future. Another lightweight that showed out, and to be honest, it was one of the hardest knockouts to watch for me. It was very brutal. And Diego Ferreira versus Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, that whole fight looked one step ahead. His striking, Michael Johnson's striking is top tier. He strikes with the best of them. He's very fast, and he looked faster than Ferreira. He looked on point, accuracy there. And then Ferreira just ripped an overhand right from the gods, and one punch put him out. Had an extra hammer fist, didn't need it. Michael Johnson went out very badly. It took a while for him to get up. He was asking his coaches, like, what happened? Who knocked me out? When he got back up. It was hard to watch, and I really feel for Michael Johnson. I hope he's doing well. But Diego Ferreira, one punch knockout. What more can you say?
Yeah, it's really interesting in the sport when there's a guy, like, because we all love to see people get knocked out. Right? That's like what we want. That's what we love. It's exciting. There's certain ones, though, that feel like, I don't know if there's a word. I'm sure there's a word for it, but it's just like, oh, man. And seeing a guy like Michael Johnson get flatlined is rough. It's rough, man, because you said it perfectly. The guy's faster than everybody. The guy's technical boxing ability is like so sick. He's always game. He's game as AF. He always shows up to fight. The guy's lanky, hits you. He's rangy, but he's just a dog, and he's been in there with everybody. He's beat some of the best guys in the division. Like, he has wins over like some crazy names. You're like, wait, hold up. Because you look at his record and you're like, okay, he's kind of a 500 fighter, But then you're like, wait, but you have wins over Dustin Poirier and Tony Ferguson. It's like, wait, what the hell? Like, in the times when those guys were the best, it's heartbreaking to see a guy like Michael Johnson at this stage in his career getting those types of knockouts. Like, you just don't want to see that from him at this point in his career. I'm not saying he should hang it up, but I am going to watch his next fight very closely. And, and we'll see where it goes from there, because it's just one of these things where, like, I don't want to see him take that type of damage if it's going to turn into, because he's a name. He's still a name. They're going to put him on the prelims against a killer every time. And it's like, I don't want to see him go out like that. But for Ferreira, hats off. That freaking overhand from
oh my goodness.
Yeah, just good on you. Congrats on that win. It's hard. It's just, my heart goes out for Michael Johnson in that one.
Right. That was kind of the story of it, but
yeah, it's like, I don't want to take anything away from the win.
You can't take anything away from the win.
But that loss like hurts more than the win feels good.
That's how it went. That's how it was in real time watching it. For Diego Ferreira, go fight Drakkar Klose, because you pulled out of that fight. Let's get that.
Let's go.
Put it on.
I like it. Get our boy Drakkar that fight. It's a great matchup. It, especially coming off a little bit of, you know what I mean? He's just made that big splash
the first time.
Go fight Drakkar, man.
Let's see that fight. Sign me up for that fight.
Sign me
Great
up.
Matchup.
Get that fight. Yeah, let's get that one going for our boy.
Dude, would love it. Joaquin Buckley making his 170-pound welterweight debut. Got the knockout at the end of round 2, right at the tail end, over Andre Filo. There it is. I almost blanked the name. The fight was competitive. It was kind of hard to see who was winning. They were like, when Joaquin would go, it would be like, oh, if he lands right now, he's going to put him out the whole fight, because he was throwing heat the whole time. Andre Filo was kind of just getting a feel, seeing what was up, and trying to find his spots. It was very hard to judge in my eyes. I couldn't really pick who I thought was winning, and then it didn't end up mattering, because Joaquin hit a head kick that ultimately started the end of the fight and finished the fight in dominant fashion. Got the knockout at the end of the fight. Makes good on his welterweight debut after being at 185 for some time. So that's good to see. After we just talked about Chase Hooper not cutting weight, Joaquin cuts an extra 15 off.
Well, but and it's funny you went there, because that's pretty much where I was going to start too. We see all the time, sometimes going in a little heavier and not having to worry about the cut is beneficial. But this is one of those instances where Buckley's was not a very big 85er. So, and 85 is one of those weight classes where it's really 45 and 55. Chill P. Sonnen says this all the time. 45 and 55, it's the same guy. That's the same guy. You're not talking 5'4" and 6'4". They're all it's the same guy. 10 pounds, who cares? 70 to 85, they're not the same guys.
You got not. Alex Pereira at 185. Well, not anymore.
You have giants at 85, bro. Those guys are all walking around 200 plus, over 6 feet. Like, those are gigantic guys. 70 is probably just a better class for Buckley. And I don't want to say exactly with these two guys fighting in this fight, right? But sometimes what happens when you have two powerful guys who are looking to counter-strike and get the finish, it turns into like a weird, like, who's going to go first? Like, sometimes the timing just gets weird when you have two guys like looking for power, and they're both kind of waiting to see what the other guy does. And like, it comes down to like the setups and the timing, and and Buckley found his time. He found his shot. So good for him. Found the head kick. It's probably a lot easier to get that head kick on a welterweight than it would have been a middleweight. So I guess he made the right decision.
I guess so. So we'll see him back at welterweight, I'm sure.
And I do want to say this about the weight cutting, right? Because generally, I'll speak for both of us, we're usually on the side of like, if you don't have to kill yourself to make the weight, don't do it. However, sometimes in certain fighters, and I might even throw myself into this, right? Sometimes just having that added pressure of having to get that weight off gives you another layer of focus that pushes you to like be a little meaner, be a little hungrier, be a little more like it. Just having to do that little bit extra might just put you into the zone where you need to be. So you're not too comfortable. So, after I spent 10 minutes talking about how weight cutting is useless, I'm going to come and tell you right now, it's not actually useless. And like, sometimes it just puts a little extra gear into your training, which may be good for some people. So I just love it when people find the right weight class. That's what I love. When it's very clear, like they look good, they look healthy, they look in shape, they're not gassing out, they're not getting, it's pretty obvious when somebody finds the right weight class.
Yeah.
So
I want to see these people at their absolute peak performance, peak physical ability, mentally there. And if you could find your right weight class, you can have all those things. So whatever it takes.
And I love when people jump around because it only makes more parity. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, okay, well, now we've been thinking about you with all these guys. Now there's this whole other roster that we can like match you up with. It's kind of exciting. You know what I mean? I would love it for Colby Covington to go to 155. Imagine how like that would just sink the division overnight. You know what I mean?
That would be quite the move to 155 for Colby Covington.
He would be shredded too. I wonder if he could make that weight, but I'm sure he could. But that's just the first one I thought of, just to throw that in there. But whatever. Moving on.
Joaquin Buckley makes good on his welterweight debut. He'll be back. Good on him. Main event of the evening: Mackenzie Dern, Angela Hill. Mackenzie Dern with 3 10-8 rounds in a 5-round fight. And to not get the finish is unbelievable. I said it to you after the fight, and I'll say it here. Divorce Dern might be a new mythical fighter here. I'm surprised her cardio made it through the fight. Like, the pace was ungodly. She was like fighting angrily in a way. And I can't believe she didn't get the finish, one. And I can't believe Angela Hill didn't quit, too. And I can't believe her cardio held up, 3. There's a lot that I was thinking about.
Sure. Yeah. Well, look, Angela Hill, she's fought everybody. She's been around forever. She fights often. So, she's tough. She's game. She's been here. Like, this is, she deserves every bit of her ranking, I guess. I don't know what number she is, but she's probably right.
I forget.
Yeah. And, she loses against the best, but she's been in there. It's a great test for Mackenzie. You know what I mean? And Mackenzie, did she just come off a loss, or did she win one after the loss? That was the last one?
Yep, that was the last one.
So that might have been that added pressure, added motivation for Mackenzie to like fight like she really needed a win. And, at the end of the day, her grappling is second to none. And her striking appears to have gotten much better. And
it's getting there.
She's becoming a mixed martial artist, a well-rounded fighter. I have such a crush on Mackenzie Dern. It's like not even funny. So I might be a little bit biased when I talk about her.
Right
But
there with you.
I think all of the jiu-jitsu community feels that way. If you follow her on Instagram, woof, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but she's a badass. She is a legitimate badass. Her dad, Megatron, I think they call him. I watched him win Masters Worlds last year. Like, that guy's been around forever, multiple time world champ. Gives her her third stripe on her black belt. She's like obviously world-class grappler. She calls out Rose. I love it. I
love
love
it.
it. That now that one will put me in a weird spot because Rose is my girl. She's my favorite female fighter of all time, I would probably have to say. And like, put her up against Mackenzie. Oof, I don't know. I don't know if I like it because Rose is one of those, like, if her head ain't on right, it could all go sideways really quick. And like, Mackenzie's got that. She could, she's got that. So we'll see. I mean, I love the call out. She's got
the jiu-jitsu ace.
She does.
In the bag.
But as for Mackenzie, I love the call out. If she gets that fight, it springboards her right to the top of the division. And with a win over like someone like Rose, you're talking title fights.
Right. And
to be fair, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say it's a typical striker versus grappler matchup. Rose is more of a striker, but she's been doing a lot of grappling events. But you have to lean Mackenzie Dern for.
Well, but here's the thing, right? Like skill for skill, yes, Mackenzie is a better grappler. MMA grappling, though, I mean, Rose has won most of her fights by submission. You know what I mean? I don't remember, but her first run was like all submissions. So it's like, Rose is no slouch, and she's got the striking. Rose is a bit more. I mean, she's fought at the highest level. She's won the belt twice. I would have to give the overall edge to Rose. But again, with Rose, we don't know where her head is at. She seems to be doing a lot of grappling tournaments these days. I'm sure she would love to come back and be like a 3-time champ, but she's really got to like get her shit straight in her own head and in her own training, because these girls, man, they're all getting better. And Rose has made such a name for herself that she's going to keep getting called out, and she's going to have to fight. So we'll see what happens.
So yeah, it capped off the night with a Mackenzie Dern dominant victory, with a great call out in the end. Got her third stripe on her black belt. Great night for Mackenzie Dern. I mean, can't draw it up much better than that. Excited to see if she gets the Rose fight. She also called for the Yan Xiaonan rematch, which I don't know if she'll get that after Yan Xiaonan just beat Andrade. I'm sure Yan will be probably like closer to the top. I would love Mackenzie Dern versus Rose. So we'll see if they make that matchup. But great night of fighting and great night for the UFC. Moving into boxing now, another night of combat sports. We had boxing bout, Vasily Lomachenko versus Devin Haney, and controversial ending. A lot of people had it for Lomachenko. I personally did have it for Lomachenko, but Devin Haney got the nod. And before we get into it, everybody's calling for a robbery or what have you. It was a close fight. Like, I lean Lomachenko, but it was a close fight. And some of those rounds in the middle, in the beginning, could just swing one way or another without even noticing. And a lot of people who don't pay attention or just watching for fun will say, oh, Lomachenko won. But Devin Haney could have swung through a few of those rounds, and I could see a world where he took more rounds than Lomachenko. So I'm not mad at it. I just think I personally had Lomachenko winning the fight.
Yeah, so completely honest, didn't get to watch this fight. I wanted to go back and watch some of the highlights before we did this. Didn't have time, whatever. I will say this. the internet goes crazy calling everything a robbery whenever they don't think the guy that won. It can't always be a robbery, bro. And another thing is, like, a lot of times people's names, when their names get so big, like Lomo's a freaking legend already, a living legend. So I could see why it's like, oh, he got robbed, because it's like everybody wants the legacy to go down in gold, like a, you know, like it's been written by the gods, right? So I can understand why people get so up in arms about this kind of stuff, because especially in boxing, even more so in MMA, it's like their records, like every loss, like means so much more to these boxers. It's not like in MMA where you could have 10 losses and still be a GOAT. You know what I mean? Because you're literally fighting the best 3 times a year all the time. In boxing, it's rare that you get like 2 really good guys. And I'll say this too, man. Haney's a beast, bro. Like he's one of the guys I like to follow that's like current and, new school, if you will. And like, I love watching that guy fight. I'm definitely excited. I'm going to go back and watch it, and maybe I'll try to score it myself. But yeah, I don't like when the internet gets all crazy calling it a robbery, because it's like you said, man, a lot of times it's just really a close fight. It could kind of go either way. You don't know what the judges saw. This is the problem with the judging, right? It's like, especially when they're there, if the crowd is behind one person and every time they hit someone, they go, oh, like it makes the judges think, oh, that must have been a big shot, right? But it's not always the case. And maybe the judge over here had the ring post in his line of sight and he didn't see that shot, or maybe he saw it a different, you never know what's going on in the judge's eyes. And in a close fight, it can go either way, man. So, congratulations to Devin Haney. Sorry, Lomo, still a champ. We all respect you and love you. And yeah, sorry to you, Tyler. I didn't do my job. I didn't watch the fight, so I
This is our
couldn't talk
job.
better about it. This is our job, bro. I dropped the ball on this one, bro. I got the birthday weekend, so I'm off the hook. But that's like that's my get out of jail free card, and that's all I got. That's it.
That's what I was gonna say.
I only got one.
It was a long weekend for RJ and his birthday, so I give him the pass and I let him be. But yeah,
thank
you. Close fight. I would love Lomachenko, man. I hated to see him not get the nod, but it happens. I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know. It might set up Haney versus Tank. I would like a rematch with Loma, but Devin Haney's I think it was dad or manager, I forget. One of them already buried that idea. They don't want the rematch with Lomachenko at all.
Who would want that? Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like
they are saying no till the wheels fall off. So it's going to be a struggle to get that rematch, but I hope it happens.
Yeah, unless there's only like the top guys, you don't really see rematches all that much. You know what I mean? It's like it's only like the Furies and Wilders, because there's nobody else. You know what I mean? It's like generally in boxing, especially if you're the guy that like looked like he lost and then got the edge, you're gonna take the bag and run. You're not gonna want to look back.
Keep moving.
Yeah, you're not gonna want to. You're not gonna want to do that fight again, because then what happens if you lose? And you got to do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
It turns into a nightmare. So it's, I'm not really mad at him. Go chase that money fight, dude. Tank would be a huge money fight.
Haney versus Tank would be big for the paychecks, big for the fans. Another one of those like Garcia Tank feel. It'll be a fun fight, and I'm excited. But
yeah,
I think Tank's too good right now. But if that fight happens, we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll break that down, and I'll make sure to watch the film and do my job.
Do your dang job.
Dude, I feel like you're like Dominic Cruz and I'm like DC. You remember when he was yelling at him?
You're just here for the ride.
He's like, dude, you're just not even watching film. Like, what the hell is this? Your job?
Your job. You get paid for this, but we do this for fun. we have one more topic to discuss. I am so excited to talk about this because Nicholas Meregali is bringing
Oof.
back the gi world, and I am so here for it. I love it. Who's number one? Nicholas Meregali versus Pedro Marinho. And it was pretty much the Nicholas Meregali show. Aside from the beginning, Pedro, he passed his guard early, and then from that point on, it was just Meregali through and through. Called his shot too, put a triangle on his gi on his back, and got the triangle, mounted triangle. Nicholas Meregali is bringing back gi jiu-jitsu, and I am loving it. He's really carrying, to be honest. He's carrying the jiu-jitsu world right now.
Yeah, I don't know when this happened, bro, because when I started training, like, it's cool to train no gi. Like, I get it. I do both. I love them both. Like, it's cool. And if you're a fighter, see, this is the thing. A lot of fighters do no gi because it's like, well, why am I going to train with these grips when I'm not allowed to do that in my competition? So that I get. But a lot of these young kids and the bigger names in jiu-jitsu right now are all no-gi guys, all doing no-gi tournaments. Everything's no-gi, no-gi, no-gi. So to have somebody making some waves and calling their shots and getting submissions like in the gi, I love it, man. It's good for our sport. I mean, there's so many people in jiu-jitsu, but like to actually have somebody that you're like invested in and want to watch all their matches like Meregali, it's cool, man. It's definitely good for our sport. And like, I don't know, this is a little, tangent. It's a little bit off topic, but like jiu-jitsu as a whole, and I've heard other people talk about this a little bit. It's hard to get people behind it because there's so many different rule sets. Every tournament that you can be in has a different rule set. So like, it's almost like nobody really knows what they're looking at. And, IBJJF rules, ADCC rules, the EBI rules, the slap jiu-jitsu, even one championship, their submission grappling is like totally different. So it's like a lot of people who aren't like super hardcore diehards, like they don't know what they're looking at. You know what I mean? So that makes it hard to get into in the first place. And then when you just, people don't make loud splashes. So to come back full circle, Meregali, hey man, thank you for hats off, brother. Like, thank you for giving us something to talk about, especially in the gi world. You know what I mean? It's exciting. I mean, we haven't like Buchecha, Audra Gracie, like Andre Galval. These are guys from, it's not really like the new school guys. Obviously, Danny Freestyle, he's been doing his thing. I love watching him compete. Like, there's some guys out there, but
Yeah, if
it's good.
if we can get some of these new school guys to put the gi on and not stop worrying about no gi, but like do both. I don't know why we can't do both. Like, if you get Gordon Ryan in the gi, it'll bring a lot of buzz to the gi.
It would be
and
huge.
I think
I don't know why he
about
does
moving to the gi. He talked about it.
Yeah, but he's not gonna.
I mean, he's got a lot of, he's got that stomach issue. He's not even competing right now. I think he had another issue. But if you get like Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, and those guys in a gi, the gi game will be right up there with the no gi game. And all it takes is people to see that and really be invested. Nicholas Meregali is starting that train.
He's starting it, and I love that. If Gordon already has the name, he already has followers. Like, if he came over and did a gi competition, like, people would watch it. There's no question. The last I saw him do an interview, he was talking about like Buchecha has 12 world titles in the gi, I think. And he said, well, it took him 12 years to do that. So if I win 6 ADCCs in a row, that's like the same amount of time for just as hard of maybe even a little bit harder of a tournament to win. So he's like, I'll consider myself the GOAT if I can win 6 ADCCs in a row, which is every other year for those of you who don't know. So that would probably put him at, especially the no-gi goat. I would love to see him do a tournament in the gi. Even Mikey Musumeci, like he did some work in the gi, but now he's over at one. They're obviously not competing in the gi. As long as he's defending that championship, I can't really see him risking losses or injury to matches that aren't for that belt. I don't even know if he's allowed to. I'm not even sure if that's in his contract.
I wonder what that is like, because you have the Rotolo brothers in one too. I would love to see them in the gi, but I don't know if they can.
Yeah, exactly. So gi jiu-jitsu needs, we sent out our bat call, our bat signal, and Meregali showed up, baby. Let's go, dude. I'll back him. I'll back him as long as he's doing the damn thing. We support you over here at Tough Talk, bro.
Dude, come on our show. Let's talk about the gi.
There we go. Let's talk about jiu-jitsu.
Let's talk about jiu-jitsu, because Nicholas Meregali has quickly become one of my favorite jiu-jitsu guys, purely because he's carrying the jiu-jitsu world at the moment with the gi. In jiu-jitsu in general, he's taking over, and I am so here for it. Shout out Nicholas Meregali for doing something that nobody else wanted to do, and that was go in the gi. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
And make it exciting.
Jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I'm excited for jiu-jitsu. If this keeps rolling, we get more gi, we get more no gi, we get the best of both worlds. So why can't we do that? That's wrapping up our topics for tonight. We're an hour in. I got nothing left on the train. We got one question from our boy Ralph that we'll answer in another video. I was debating doing it now, but we'll do another video on that. That video's coming, Ralph. I promise. If you're watching that, I didn't forget. But that's been episode what? I'll figure out what episode it was. I think 13, maybe 14. But we're moving. And after RJ's birthday weekend, we are back.
We're back, baby.
1 year older, but we're back.
Yeah, dude, getting older every day.
Stronger
than ever.
Subscribe. Yeah. What did we do? We did BMF. We talked BMF. We talked Aljo, Dana, Sugar. We talked UFC Fight Night, Mackenzie Dern. We talked boxing, and we talked jiu-jitsu. We had a little bit of everything today, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. RJ, you got anything for these people?
No, we love you guys. Thank you for the support out there. Whoever is watching this, a lot of people hit me up. They're like, "Hey, I watched your show. I liked it." And I go, "Cool, but you didn't like it. Comment on it and subscribe." No, I'm just kidding. We love everyone that watches. We love everybody that engages with us on the socials in real life. Like, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Tell all your friends and come back next time.
Tell your wives, tell your kids. But yeah, just on that point of people saying it in public, at your at the birthday party, I had people coming up. Brendan, shout out Brendan, came up and was like, "Dude, I love your show," and it was like crazy that people are watching this still. Like, I can't believe it. So thank you guys from the bottom.
Brendan talks to me all the time about it, and he actually wants to be on it. So Brendan, if you're watching this right now, download the app, dog. We're gonna do it. We're coming for you.
Send the invite.
Straight up, we'll get it done.
We'll talk.
We know that guy likes to talk.
We'll talk old school. We'll talk Conor McGregor. But yeah, all right, we're taking you guys out. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.